episode of Debt Nation, where we're putting death out of business. We're going to put death out of a job. But anyway, in the meantime, between putting death out of a job, we actually have a favorite guest of ours. He's from the Green Party. You remember him from some debates, and we did an interview with him. It's Chad Wilson. And Chad, you bring news from the other side. You bring news of scandal. You bring news of intrigue. You bring news of party shenanigans. Chad Wilson, tell us what's going on inside the Green Party. But before you do, how have you been? How's politics? How's life? How's the world? How's being a Russian bot? Because you're not real, apparently.
Apparently. It's good. I'm good, man. This has been the craziest experience I've ever had, really, because it's put me into a mind space that I have to think about everybody. And, it's just interesting, but all is good. My campaign is going good. My focus has been the internal politics, fixing the party so it could be viable come the general, and I'm running for the nomination. Some people think that focusing on what's keeping people from coming to the party is not something that we should be talking about, or it's not important. Other candidates, well, there's 5 of us candidates that are in. We're working together in order to expose what's going on. So, I mean, all's going good is because they're so bad at politics, is that they're showing their shit all the way, every misstep. It's so bad. It really is. It's really bad. It's embarrassing.
Well, you should have joined the USTP. You should have joined the United States Transhumanist Party. At least then you would have got a fair run. We had a lot of fun over here, and it was a free and fair election, and we didn't have too much of a mishap, and everybody knew about the primary. And then once it was over, most people went their own way, just and formed their own sort of parties. We've got Matt Taylor 2020, we've got Jonathan Chakey 2020. We've got a whole a list of them, because the great thing about the United States Transhumanist Party, as you probably know, it's a non-monetary organization that just endorses a candidate, so they get to run their own campaign on a platform that lines up with the values of the United States Transhumanist Party, and that's how it goes. So it's exciting like that. But anyway, the Greens Party is an established big party. It's a big party. There's a big primary. A lot of people running in it. You got some old guard. You got some new guard. So tell us, before we launch in, who are the list of players and what's the scenario? Obviously, it's the primary, yeah?
The main thing is the fix is in for Howie Hawkins, which is the presumptive nominee. Before the primary even started, a group of Greens got together, co-chairs and committee members, and they organized this plan for the election. And then they decided on a candidate to draft, and I've included that. Well, not in this, but I've got all the documentation. So they drafted Howie, and they've basically been using their resources and their positions to influence the primary, the election. They're censoring me on the main page, which is fine. Like all these things that they're doing, are just a lot of it subtle stuff, but it's really telling. And the more they do it, the more they get called out on it, the worse it looks for them. But all is good, because this is what's got to be fixed. And now I've got the Hawkins campaign responding to me directly and just putting their foot in their mouth. So Howie is a member of another party, and the party affiliation rule to be the Green Party nominee says that you can't be affiliated with another party. Well, he just got the nomination from the Socialist Party USA, which I feel bad for them, because once this picks up of how they're rigging the primary, it's going to hurt that party too. So it's a shame that they have to do this, especially under the Green Party banner, and because there's nowhere else to go. So
Chad, your microphone just went muted. Oh, you're still muted.
There we go.
There you
It's
go.
pretty wild. Pretty wild. All the stuff that's going on. But it's also exciting because they're so bad at what they do. They're so bad at what they do. For example, like, so Howie was one of the original members. And of course, they're trying to use that and overinflate what he's done, which has been nothing. He's been in the business for over 50 years, ran over 20-something campaigns, and not one elected office. Not one. Of course, he's been a member of that other party since 1973, and then all these other organizations. And like, if you're a real leader by this time, you would have had something viable. You know, in my opinion. I mean, when you have people on the media committee on the Green Party for 18 years, through the birth of social media, through the birth of, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these different things, and you only have 100,000 people on your Facebook page, less than 10,000 on your Instagram page. You're a political party. Everybody knows you. And so you have to start asking yourself, why is the party not growing? Why is all these things happening? And of course, Jill Stein was the 2016 nominee, and her page is being run by David Cobb, which David Cobb is considered one of the corrupt too. He's been leading this recount effort, which nobody's been able to see the books on or whatnot. But he actually tried to run it through the Green Party itself in order to get bigger donations. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on. An example of how they're using their influence is there was this eco-socialism event during the big climate march back in September. Well, Anita Rios, which is a steering committee member, went and promoted this thing with her title. It's For Greens, by Greens, and it was actually put on by the Illinois Greens. I think this New York was there, and California Greens. Well, you watch this whole interview, and then they're like, well, the presidential candidate's going to be there. And she's like, yeah, well, a couple of them, but we need to make sure that we know this is not an official thing. It's a steering committee, and they're doing these events that are non-official. We found out that Dario Hunter, which is one of the other candidates, that he was speaking out on the corruption until he got his official recognition, and then he's silenced, trying to tell everybody, oh, we got to be positive, we can't talk about the internal conflict. But what he was talking about before was an exclusion. Was at a meeting, and they wouldn't let him speak. So Howie was and of course Howie said, I'm not the guy to talk to. But we found out later that they actually paid Howie to speak at this convention, even though he's running for the nomination. So there's a lot of little dirty things that they're doing, and that's not even the full extent of it. The real big thing is this campaign manager, when she was on the steering committee, pretty much try and stack the PCSC, which is handling the presidential candidates, in order to keep Jesse Ventura from getting the nomination. So that's something I included in the copies there too, the pictures. But it just goes to show how they had this plan, how they organized it. Now that she's his campaign manager, and all this dirty stuff. So it's not one thing; it's the accumulation of all these different things. And sadly enough, there's a lot of yes man Greens that are completely okay with this. They think that as long as the corruption is coming from their party, that we have to be quiet and sweep it under the rug and under the illusion of unity, in order to what? I don't know. It's like, once people get to the party and they see we're not following our values and we don't give a shit about it's not helping us. That's why people come and they leave. That's why in the most popular, politics is the most popular it's ever been right now. People are so engaged. Good or bad, they're engaged. Why aren't people coming in hordes, especially if we have the platform there? And that's leadership. And that's been my main focus, is to identify the toxic players and then remove them. And it just so happens that, Howie Hawkins' campaign, it has, it's like a toxic people, like a moth to a flame. And it's amazing to watch them squirm. And it's amazing to think that they think they're actually going to put some pressure on the establishment with their shitty argument skills. One of them, which was trying to paint me as not a Green, kind of talking down to the Tennessee Greens, because there's no meetings, there's relatively no one being active, and I'm here running for the presidential nomination, and they're trying to talk down, asking for my voter registration, as basically they're trying to do the Machiavelli thing. You know, your biggest weakness, you want to throw it on your other opponent. But they don't realize that Tennessee, you don't have a party affiliation, so you just register, and then of course you know, with the party, you know, which it just shows their incompetence, competency. So I'm happy about everything that's going on there. And it's interesting to watch it play out, because the more and more we get into it, the more and more I share this evidence, the more people are like, and it's catching on. And I mean, that's, if we don't have the party, if the party's not together, if we're not unified, if we're not able to keep our integrity and hold ourselves accountable, nobody's going to come, and we're lying to people. So that's kind of the gist of it. It's you know, they rigged the primary. They're trying to, at least. So,
How long until the primary is over?
I believe in March is when they actually vote, but the convention is later on, and it's going to be a contested convention anyways. I mean, already there's a lot of stuff going on. So I mean, that's going to happen. In fact, I found out that there was some dirtiness going on even in the last primary, in which, you know, Jill Stein was involved, and even when she offered the top billing spot to Bernie Sanders if he would run, she didn't even have the authority to do that. So there's a lot of these career politicians, and you know, I voted for Jill Stein, and it wasn't until recently that I'm a little upset with her ignoring and trying to censor people of talking about the issue. It's just very elitist of these people, and they're all connected. That's the key. That's why I don't feel bad calling this stuff out. I mean, if you're okay with the corruption, then you should be okay with people pointing out what you're doing. If you're okay with your behavior. So.
Is it corruption, or is it just normal democratic politics, or this is deeper? You're saying this is deeper because in democracies and these small parties or big parties, I've heard it over and over and over again. There's always a lot of intrigue, a lot of people who backstab each other, which corpse can get to the top, you know? Is it just normal party politics? Is it everyday politics, or simply because you're now involved in the process, or is this something deeper?
Well, now that I'm involved in the process, I'm seeing things from a different perspective. So I mean, I'm able to, you know, have my personal experience. But as I'm running and as I'm seeing these things, as I'm talking about these things, you know, I'm being contacted by people privately. I'm being told what's going on. So it's not just me speaking about this, me running as the presidential candidate, realizing the problems with our party. We have to focus on those. But it's corruption. When you say, I mean, there's been no promotion of a primary, and then how do people know that they're supposed to sign for a candidate? And you know, it's just, at a grassroots party, they should be doing grassroots thing, and I think the Green Party should be held to a higher standard, because we're supposed to be the ones breaking the two-party system. We're supposed to be the answer to that two-party system. And again, what happens is these people, they feel entitled in these, you know, because they've been around for so long, and then they expect people to, you know, exclude or excuse the behavior just because, you know, for the illusion. Now, as far as how the money goes, you know, I mean, that's what it's about. And I'm not the only one that's saying open the books, because the books need to be open. And when you see stuff like how Anita Rios and these people organize this eco-socialism event for Greens, by Greens, promoting it on the Green Party page, promoting non-sanctioned stuff, non-affiliated material content on the Green Party page, but ignoring the presidential candidates, you know, censoring me from even posting on the discussion page, as well as even ignoring, you know, the rules, which are the affiliation rules. They made Howie an official candidate when he's clearly a member of another party, and he just got the nomination. And you know, because we haven't got all the signatures, or we haven't got all the donations, they excuse it, and they boil it down to, oh, well, you only got so many signatures. I'm like, well, first of all, people don't know to sign. They don't know to sign, and it's the primary. It's a grassroots party. You want to say, hey, here's our candidates. These are the people. Here's what they're about. Here's what's going on. Here's how you support them. We have to build the party up. We should have a really engaged primary. I mean, everybody else is watching everybody else's primary. They don't realize the power of the presidential election. It's the Super Bowl of politics. So it's symbolic of the party. So when your presidential candidate, your nominee is the party. It's your representation. So if you do that by rigging it and by cheating and by silencing everybody else, then you're hurting yourself. And that's hard for some people to swallow, and some people don't get it. And, I get a lot of just a lot of yes men. I mean, if I wasn't doing anything, they wouldn't be. If I wasn't hurting them, they wouldn't be acknowledging and commenting on the thing. So I just got to keep the pressure on them and keep letting people know what they're doing. And of course, there's tons of documentation of all this. You have to put some things together, but a lot of people didn't understand how the DNC was cheating Bernie. They didn't get it. They just dismissed that. Like, oh well. I mean, it's one thing to play favorites. It's one thing to have favorites. Another thing when you have all these committee members, these people in these positions that have these resources, that have the respect. Because people don't. What blows my mind too is people don't understand what influence means. What influence is. You don't have to actually have a position, a leadership role position, but sometimes it is to have influence. They were one lady, which has been in the party for a while. She censored me off a page. They were trying to put my logo, attach it to the Nazi eagle. They're like, why would you use an eagle for your logo? Because the eagle is the national bird, and so little stuff like that. And then because they want to attach things to it, it's for political reasons. I said all you have to do is go Google search, and you can see that it doesn't look alike, and you can search what the eagle is to America. And she's like, well, I don't have time to go to the research that you want me to do. And but she writes this in 2 paragraphs. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're going to spend 10, 15 minutes going through all this, but you can't press Google. And it's for political reasons. And they throw their weight around. That's one of the things they do. These people, they throw their weight around in order to say, look what I've been doing. Like, if you've been doing that great, we wouldn't be in this position. If you were doing that great, you wouldn't tell me that I need to phone bank. Phone bank in the age of the internet blows my mind. It's the stupidest thing I can think of. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And that's the other thing with Howie. He's got the ballot committee guy on his staff team, basically helping him get ballot access. When he's supposed to be working for the party. And the problem with how he's getting his name on the ballot. So it's different. Like, there's less signatures you have to get to put your individual name, but it's more signatures you have to get in order to get the party name. So that's the difference between what's going on. Is I want to grow the party. I want to focus on, making the party viable. And that's creating the base. If you don't have enough people to get the party on the thing, you're just doing the whole cult of personality kind of thing, and they're trying to make a like a second Bernie and something. I don't know, and then he goes around, and I know I'm talking about this, but it's just important to map out, because it's the problem with politics. People feel entitled to these roles. They've been doing shit work. And again, not to take away from anything he's done, but you're not going to come to me and lie about all these different steps and then put these unethical people on your team and be okay with it. See, that's the thing, is those people that organized it, right, are on his team, and they're also making decisions on his team. And he said it. He's like, "Oh, I don't make decisions about myself. It's a collective of us." The same people on these positions, the same people, and it's important to map out. And some people think it's like a personal thing, and it's not. Not more personal than it is, than it is for everybody else about politics. Is why none of us are getting the change we want. Hold our nose for what? For you to be a half-ass, politician, career candidate. I'm waiting for some of these articles to come out because I've been talking to quite a few journalists that are interested in the corruption and interested in what's going on. So it's going to be pretty awesome to watch this whole thing unfold. Because here's the thing: if I don't win the nominations, fine. If you think somebody else is better, and if the party chooses somebody else, that I'm running my campaign the way I choose fit. That's fine. But at the end of the day, whether I win or lose, how the Hawkins campaign cheated, that doesn't change. So.
Yeah. So scandal within the Greens Party. So this seems like it's clearly a violation. This fellow who is a member of the Socialists, and he is now basically forced his way onto the ballot as a nominee on the Greens, right? So how is this just not a direct violation? How is this just not written off? Who's protecting this guy? That's super dirty, right?
Well, there's the key. The key is that all these people are in place to do that. They just dismiss it. Oh, that's not a real party, but it's recognized by the Federal Election Commission in his state. So, and that's what that thing I showed you too of Andre, where she was talking about it last year when she was trying to block Jesse about we have to get somebody on the PCSC in order to.
Why is? Yeah, keep going. I'll ask you that in a sec. Keep going.
So basically, they wanted to make sure to get their people on, and nobody's doing anything because they just dismiss it, and I mean that's the problem. There's a lot of people talking out about it, and right now I have to play the bad cop, and I have to show these people that because I've barely spent anything, right? Barely spent anything. And it just goes to show what you could do with next to nothing. That's what a grassroots campaign is supposed to be about. I think the less I spend, the more I can do with the less should be more of a testament of my leadership skills. And if we can actually make some change about what's going on with Howie and we show we get rid of this corruption, that's going to put me in a light too. I mean, we have to do this on a larger scale. And the only way we can show that is to have a third party that can break the two-party system, add that voice in there. And the Green Party, because of the values, because of the 4 pillars, as long as we follow them, I think can do that. And which is awesome because that he actually got the nomination. Not that he was seeking it, because before he was seeking it. And, but he got the nomination. So it literally puts the party in a position to say, hey, we either going to have integrity or we're not. And them telling us that they're going to remove us from the page and basically black us out because of our requirements aren't where they need to be, and while ignoring the party affiliation, it stinks of corruption, absolutely. And that's my point of what I was saying about them every step of the way have just tripped over themselves. I mean, Howie believes in Russiagate. They jumped the gun on a Mike Gravel endorsement because they had the kid that was running the Twitter or something like that give the endorsement. I mean, just a lot of if you're in the business 50 years, you should not be making these mistakes, especially to a guy that's never ran before. And the party should see, look how easy you can defeat Howie. You need a pit bull that is got no shame. You know what I mean? I'm someone that, I'm okay with acknowledging my faults, acknowledge with my ignorance, and I know that I'm ignorant in a lot of ways, and I understand and I recognize that it's not just me to get things done; it's a collective group, and I obviously can't do this by myself. I need the strength of the Green Party, and for them to see what they can do, and I believe, I fully believe that I can lead them to be a real voice. I mean, they're so upset right now. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's like a mini Democrat breakdown with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. It's because we all know that Bernie Sanders got written out of that show by the establishment candidate. Yeah, there's a huge problem there in America with these political parties and how they can pretty much just write their own rules, and these committees that just dictate sort of at a whim what they want for their parties. And then the establishment candidate always wins.
Isn't that funny?
Maybe Trump was the outside chance of that happening in the Republican Party.
But that was all Hillary. I mean, the Pied Piper strategy gave him $4 billion worth of free airtime, free publicity, and they beat the fear drum. And Trump, people hated the establishment so much.
He built that for himself. He built that up for himself.
But he couldn't have done that without being the the opposition, the controlled opposition. I mean, he was heightened in because it was going to be Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, or Donald Trump, and $4 billion worth of publicity. I mean, they showed an empty podium waiting for Trump.
Bush.
Or Jeb. Well, but in the actual WikiLeaks revelation, those three were the names. But the problem is that Hillary was so bad, and that WikiLeaks came out and showed it, is that people did a protest vote. And not only that, is like a lot of people that voted for Obama ended up voting for Trump. A lot of people that were going for Bernie ended up voting for Trump because they were throwing their fuck you vote to the establishment. People are tired of corruption, and it's taken me a minute to understand things. Like I don't believe Trump's the vehicle whatsoever, and I don't agree with it whatsoever. But a broken clock is right twice a day. And when you're talking about the Clintons, when you're talking about Obama, when you're talking about certain corruption of the DNC, I mean, you're telling the truth. And we have to recognize that as we're building our coalitions to say, we can be against anti-corruption, because if we're against anti-corruption and against propaganda, we get those out of the way, then things can start to even out, because a well-informed society is going to make better decisions. We're going to be able to have, better conversations rather than just getting upset at each other over just the dumbest stuff, which is what they want.
Is Jesse Ventura becoming a geriatric? What's he doing mucking around in the Greens Party? He's a libertarian guy who went on InfoWars, former governor. I mean, what's he doing in the Greens Party? Yeah, can you enlighten me on this whole Jesse Ventura thing?
Yeah, we actually did this thing called a Venturathon for quite a while before I decided to run. In fact, because Jesse didn't run, it pushed me to run, because we were talking about all these different things that we need and what we want, and all the positives and minuses of having a Jesse Ventura run in the Green Party. Well, he started talking about he voted for Jill Stein, I believe. He championed her for the 2016. He said he's not really a libertarian because they don't believe in climate change, so he's not interested in that. He did, some talking about it. TMZ got him talking about running in the Green Party. He's a wrestler. He knows how to talk shit. He knows how to get actual, headlines, get some attention. So he was, he's been talking about running in the Greens, and then that's where you see Andrea talking about how they're going to, to block him, and she's not the only one that use their influence, and it's so ugly to talk down to people in the way that they have been. And Jesse Ventura running the primary would have been great. I mean, it's a primary. You want the best primary, the strongest candidates to battle it out, because you want the eyeballs on the primary. Because the beautiful thing about the primary is that you don't have to make a decision there. You don't have to vote there, but you can be invested in the primary without feeling like you have to vote for them. And they don't understand that. They don't understand the importance of having their eyeballs, or they do, and they realize that their candidate would not stand a chance against Ventura, not at all. So we went through all these things with the cons, that Greens were having, and Jesse's more green than Howie, more greens than a lot of these people. If you ask questions, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know he did his conspiracy show, and that bothers a lot of people. But with how many times that and how much proof we have that they've lied to us, for anybody to shame anybody for asking questions for official stories that don't make sense, you're an asshole. Like we get it. We may not know, but there are people that are interested in these things and that dive into it. They want to know. And we can't keep shooting people in the foot and ignoring people and pushing people away because their focus or what their expertise is or what their interest is isn't in line directly with us, because we need people all over the spectrum that are caring about all these different things. Because some of the things that I care about most, that I'm kept up with what's going on, there's things that I'm not. And we need people, again, all over the spectrum that can focus on the individual problems. And that's what a president's supposed to do. We're supposed to be organizing and looking at our resources too, and what, how to make moves, how to do things. So it's not always, just your policies, which, policies obviously is key to you and what you're about. But as far as it's not just policy, you need action, and to show that you can set the establishment on fire. Just like all we have to do is once the voting republic says, hey, let's come together, let's demand Epstein's client list, Jeffrey Epstein's client list. What do you think is going to happen? That's going to set the establishment on fire, and that's something to come together, because there's so many people that are implicated. That's the top. That's the real. That's the biggest story of our lifetime. It is, because of how many people it's connected to, and it being connected to the intelligence, because that's what they're saying, that he was basically blackmailing people. Taking these parties and film it, and So there's a lot of things going on that within that Epstein universe thing that could set the dominoes, where they need to be to get us to where we need to be.
Yeah, and then once you realize how big a shark someone like Epstein was, then you come down to someone like Howie, and there's a small fry fish, small fry universe. But yeah. So how's your campaign going? Are you going to be able to take advantage of any of this corruption? Obviously, you're becoming a little bit of a whistleblower. A strategic whistleblower nonetheless, but a whistleblower. And how's your campaign going? And if you had any chance to fix any of this sort of stuff, what would you do to make the playing field more level for people like yourself and others who are interested in joining the Greens or an affiliated party?
Well, I'll tell you what I want. I want, first of all, the party to acknowledge what's going on. That would be the first thing. But as a primary, I think the Green Party members should be on the road together, and hitting all the East states, and really focus on promoting the ideas, promoting the candidates. Because as much as I feel like I have great ideas, I'm not the only one with great ideas. And I see all the candidates. Even Howie, have something to add to the table, add value. But the problem is we can't organize our value. We can't because we're not having a real discussion, because they want, to it's just so corny. And I hate to be like that, because I love the platform. But it's corny. You can't have these people in these positions for so long, nothing happening that needs to happen. Why are people leaving the party? Why haven't we grown exponentially since 2016? All the people with the fire, they're like, screw this, I'm out. And so I realized for me that and it gets a little bit frustrating at times, to hit the wall there. But then I remember, this is great. The more they do this, the better it shows well, the more important it shows what my campaign is doing. And I can show all these different things, map about. Um, and I don't think, okay, the long habit of not thinking a thing wrong gives it the superficial appearance, right? And at first will raise a formidable outcry in defense of custom. A custom. Time makes more converts than reason. So I look at it like people may not understand what's going on now, may be upset because of initial friction of ways our party's not corrupt, our party's not. I mean, eventually, as these things unfold and they can start opening their eyes and seeing kind of the dirty moves, it should, it should make sense. And if the party isn't wanting to focus on its integrity and focus, the main thing, the first thing is the party integrity. You can't do shit if you're not following your own rules. If you're not following your values, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters, because you can scream all day. At the end of the day, what your platform is. It doesn't matter. You're not living up to what you believe. So that's what I want to see. The real engagement. Especially if you have new people. Why would you talk down to new people that are getting engaged to the party? Like, it doesn't matter if how long someone's been in the party. If they're saying, I want to go somewhere, I'm interested in the Greens. Come to the party. Let's talk. Let's discuss. Let's go into this stuff. It's just very, very, elitist, in some ways. Good.
Yeah, so a friend of your party is an organization called Democracy Now. Is there any way that you could get your message onto a platform like Democracy Now? Or they don't want to hear it? Is there a media conspiracy as well?
I don't know. I haven't tried. My campaign is mainly been focused on the party. Like, I've been engaging with people in the party and people that have left the party to listening to what's going on, finding out what's going on, because that's my biggest concern. Because when I really got involved with the party, I mean, of course I voted for Jill Stein, but when I really started getting engaged was this whole Jesse Ventura thing, and then just to see how people were being treated and just disrespectful. I mean, people all over the country just talking down. So I have a plan. I just went into phase 2, which is to actually announce and push. A lot of my friends, a lot of people that I didn't even let them know. I just now changed it on my personal Facebook page. There was a reason that I wanted to dumb things down. There was a reason why I made it seem like my campaigning was just one-sided, but it wasn't. There's a lot of work that I've been doing behind the scenes, trying to put these pieces together and understand what's going on. Plus, I mean, working with people, that's people don't understand that. So campaign's going good in that aspect, because once I did just drop this thing, I mean, shit's blowing up, and I wanted there to be time for things to marinate and let people see, look, hey, I'm telling you what's going on now. I'm letting you know, and now I'm going hard. It's exciting to see people's they just didn't expect it, which is part of the strategy.
Well, absolutely. And so what's your main thrust of your campaign? Because obviously you're talking about, okay, exposing some of the internal shenanigans that are going on, some of the scandalous ideas. Okay, that's good. That's internal stuff. What about external? Are you looking to build the party out or bring in new members, or you don't want that right now with so much intrigue? How deep does the intrigue go? Does it go back years and years, or is it quite recent? What's your idea around that? Because if it's quite deep, I mean, what's the point of the party if it goes on years and years and years, and there's an established elite? How is it any different from? How is it different? Why not just run on your own?
And that's what everybody tells me. That is the and well, See, the Green Party is a federation of all these state parties. That's what it is. So it's not the same as your Democratic. So you have all these state parties that are affiliated with the national, and then that's how it works. But that's what they've done, is they've got all these different people in these places that they've stacked the decks by using these state parties, and it is something that runs. It's politics. Anybody that's these career politicians that have been in this for a long time, that aren't talking about the real issue, aren't really interested in getting new people in, are part of the problem. It doesn't. Some of these people may not be corrupt. They're just, old school, and a lot of them are getting line, but that's what's been keeping the party from growing. Now, as far as outside wise, I mean, of course I want people to get in, but I need to set up and show people that I've been putting in the time to fix the party of the corruption, because people need to know, hey, if you're coming in, we're fixing the corruption. I couldn't very well go to anybody that I know that has real influence to say, hey, come to the party, without me taking the steps to say, look, these are the corrupt people. We're trying to get them out. We're trying to expose them. Now you should feel comfortable coming in, because this is what we're actively doing as a party. And if you see Tulsi, a lot of people really fuck with Tulsi because of her anti-corruption, and she fucking zinged Hillary Clinton. She hit her hard, and people are resonating with that. And the problem is, everybody will tell you we have nowhere to go. That's why you have to pick left or right, the two-party system. But nobody's doing that on the third party. Nobody's doing outside, because they want to play high school politics. And I feel like that is going to get people more interested than anything else. But as far as my outside, other than that, like the Cannabis Coalition is probably my biggest focus, my main focus, because of everything that's connected to it, with the police reform, healthcare reform, the citizens, coming together. There's a lot of issues that could be stamped out just by, legalizing cannabis. And I'm against corruption. I'm against corruption, and I'm against the propaganda. And I realize that the things that we're fighting people which are the outputs of the policies. We're battling heads on the results of these things that we're taught, the ignorance, the ignorant building blocks. So if we, again, it's the butterfly effect. I always say it's like what Dark Martin says. You're not thinking fourth dimensionally. You have to understand what you cut out now is going to change in the future. And if you have all these people, especially, the Trump derangement syndrome is so bad. And I only say that because of the Trump derangement syndrome. If you're worried about Trump, because if you're running for president under the thing, I'm going to run against Trump, beat Trump, you've missed the whole point. If you want to beat Trump, you have to take the wind out of the sails of his supporters. And so you have to know that the Russiagate lie and stuff like that, they're too busy trying to battle the lies rather than, the war crimes or whatever. It's the BS. But understanding a lot of these cats are anti-corruption, anti-propaganda, anti-censorship in a way. Now, there may be some cognitive dissonance when it comes to their candidate and their people. That's fine, because we're all on a different timeline. Time makes more converts than reason. I just think at this place in time, the more people we have on the anti-corruption train, the more people we have on the propaganda train, the better. And I can frame it to Bernie Sanders supporters. I can say, hey, you guys want to make sure the establishment doesn't cheat him? Make sure the Green Party's on the ballot. Let's put some real pressure on these motherfuckers. Same thing. Go to Trump supporters and say, hey, you want to make sure that they put the Clintons, all these people, in jail for what they're doing? Give him a deadline. Apply pressure on him. They've got the evidence. The evidence is there. It's just they need to make it happen. So there's ways to utilize our position, and I think I'm able to do that because I've yelled at everybody. I've cussed everybody out on the left, the right, friends, family. It's good because, I feel a little bit more healed because of it. Because, the outrage that you get from, your friends or people that that you just don't understand their thought train, how they get to this conclusion. But after arguing, after going through that all stuff, you know, trying to get it, I just realized, you have to pick a side. You have to ignore all this corruption on your side just to be against the other person. And I want to give something for people to go for. Um, and and then the music thing. I think it's very important that we create these things where we have live music, live entertainment, um, social interactions, community, uh, yard sales, and stuff like that. And we need to hit the rural area, and we need to hit the inner city, and then we need to be making sure that people from the city, you know, goes to the country in a country setting, and buy shit from the country. Let the country meet outside culture. Let them come together and see what kind of resources and what kind of things can be done together. And we have the internet, we have our phones. It is everything that we need in order to actually put some pressure on the establishment. And then viral. If we had one thing go viral, oh, we're rocking and rolling. So
why don't you adopt the strategy of winning a person from each state piece by piece by piece? So you found out that there's a coalition of these people because they've stacked the board, right? Why not win one of these people and start breaking them down like that? I mean, if you could win one, then maybe you can win two, and you could start hitting them back like that. Is that a strategy?
absolutely. I mean, it's all part of it. And I've actually argued with people and shown them the evidence in the argument, and then getting private message to say, hey, I'm sorry, I apologize, I had no idea what was going on. I have people sending me messages, sending me like, here, like, here's some things. I mean, just random people that I don't know, and I think they're fake profiles and stuff like that. So what I'm doing, I could tell is resonating with a lot of people. I think it's like anything else. It's like anywhere else. You don't speak up because there's a blowback, and you know how these people are, and how they're just. It's really nasty in the way that these people talk down to people. It really is. And I mean, I've got all sorts of screenshots just to show the. It's not the type of environment that's going to make people feel engaged or people want to come. And they're just so bad at it, and I'm not putting up with their shit. But the people that I've met that I love, of course, across the country have been awesome. I mean, I've been engaged with California Greens, a lot of Arizona Greens, Ohio, and I've spent quite a bit of time. It's just interesting too. The even people that I've butted heads about other things, I've become close with in this arena about the politics, the corruption stuff. So I mean, I feel like I'm getting a good response, the type of response that I should be getting at this point. And now that I'm amping up and gearing things up, because I haven't really done anything either. That's what I'm saying. That's what's so amusing to me, is that I haven't even used any of my resources, and I've just been doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a grassroots candidate, as someone showing, hey, I care about the Green Party. I'm in here arguing with people. I don't see any other candidate really arguing with people, really going in it with people. I mean, there's a couple, us other five candidates that are working together for, we've written letters to, as a joint statement to the PCSC, which is, they handle the presidential thing. Yeah, there's something I realize, especially going after people that there's a balance, because you're always on defense in a way, um, because I mean you have to be. You don't know who you can trust. These people are. It's it, it's really bad. You just don't expect that. You wouldn't expect that from the Green Party. You expect that people would be like just excited that you're there, excited to have the conversation, excited to bring energy in, to have all these different voices adding to the mix. But
Yep, politics is a draining experience. Doesn't matter which party or platform that you end up going for. It always ends up the same, complicated string, pinboard and strings. So yeah, not surprised at there. Hey, a question. Obviously on this panel, on this show, we're going for Benzion 2020 because that's the transhumanist candidate. We want transhumanism to do well. Now, do any of the transhumanist arguments, ideas, you're familiar with some of them, float around inside the Greens Party at all? Are people talking about artificial wombs or AI or superintelligence, or are they talking about space colonization, or are they talking about, genetic engineering? Are you hearing any of the transhumanist stuff floating around in the Green Party at the moment?
no, not at all. And in fact, that's something that I really like about the Transhumanist Party, and is it's just a different type of approach, energy, and Ben brings that to the table too. He brings a lot of good energy. Um, it's an important aspect of everything, because I mean your technology, your innovation, it's kind of the focus of what, from my take on their platform. So I mean I'm learning stuff, even stuff that he posts and stuff like that, and there's a lot of value to take from it. And he's really paying attention to all these different things, and that's where there's the point. Like I said, it's like there's so many issues, there's so many things, you can't very well wrap your head around everything or do everything. For me, just because there's so much going on, but to have people and to be able to recognize people's strengths and what their interests are, and how important somebody's interest is in something. Because when somebody really cares about something and really takes value in something, they care about how it's represented. So those are the people you're supposed to go to learn about these issues, the ones that are having the honest debates. But nobody's talking about that. I mean, it's what are they talking about? I mean, the Green New Deal, which again, some of the stuff is just so over the top. We have to break the two-party system. I mean, if we're being honest, we know that they have the mechanisms in place. Our only real shot would be the Electoral College, and how to get them to decide. Well, that's a whole other strategy. I just think it's important that we focus on making the party good, and then bringing outside voices. I mean,
I know you're going for Chad Wilson 2020, and I know you're part of the Greens Party. But if you see any disenfranchised voters from the left or the right, because you're out there engaging with people and whatever, I mean, spread the word about the Transhumanist Party as well, because it can't hurt to give us a little bit of promotion, to go up and over and beyond. We're trying our best to do the best we can for not just the United States, and yes, it's a U.S. party, and yes, it's a pro-America party, but also for humanity as a whole. We advocate a whole wide range of transhumanist technologies that would benefit humanity as a whole. And I know for a fact that the Green Party is not opposed to that. I mean, yes, they're also a United States party. It wants America to do very well, America being the center of that. But, by extension, the Greens are a global movement, and they advocate for humane policies. I don't think as much as a transhumanist, because we literally have the word humanist in our name, meaning everybody. The Greens being a little bit of a, you could be a Vietnam, a Green in Vietnam or a Green in China and go for Vietnam and go for China or go for America differently. Whereas transhumanists, we don't really think like that. We just sort of think of humanity as a whole all the time. So yeah, but yeah, if you can, I mean, spread the word of Benzion 2020 and spread the transhumanist party. Just even if you just come across right wing people who say, I want none of that green nonsense, but transhumanism maybe they're interested in because it's such a new, there's such a new diet for it. There's so many new and cool ideas, and we have the policy wonks, the doctors, the scientists, the lawyers, the ambassadors, the politicians. We have the mechanisms that can get us through, and the encroaching amount of the technological change. People are not ready for it, and I'm finding that the Republican Party or the Democrat Party or the Greens, etc., are going to start finding themselves talking more and more of the transhumanist lingo. And if you want to keep up, you're going to have to find your own Andrew Yang, which is essentially what the Democrats have done to steal the thunder off the transhumanist party. They've deployed a Andrew Yang who is a kind of Elon Muskian, type political person.
Musky,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Musky for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So so this is kind of interesting. But you know what? You might be able to be the person who introduces some of these ideas into your own party, because we're not opposed to spreading these ideas at all. I mean, better health and wealth for everybody, better medical care, etc. I mean, these are things that aren't central in your party, but definitely are talked about a lot. And I mean, who wants more war when we could have a war against poverty, disease, and scarcity, against death itself? I mean, isn't that something more admirable
It,
than pumping up another Pentagon
well,
budget?
I would agree, and in fact, I would say that the Green Party, I mean, definitely needs to take a page out of the Transhumanist Party, and especially in that respect, because it's all about framing, in what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do things, and that is a very important key. I mean, it's like Star Trek. You basically say, let's build a Star Trek world, and that's super important. That's something that is becoming so capable of being done. So I mean, I want to do some more cross debate talks with Ben too. But yeah, I would love to see that conversation to be in the party. And in fact, if we were having more dialogue, if we were having a real primary, I'm sure that would come up, and I would bring that up, and I would take as much from Ben's platform as I could. No, he's I've been paying attention. I think I really do think that I think it's important, well, for everyone, but just important to have these voices. The platform. We just need somewhere where people can go and talk about these things and feel comfortable and not feel like you're going to be judged or talked down to. Because we all have different things that affect us and we're worried about. Some people may want to come to the party for this reason. Some people may want to come to the party for this reason. They don't have to come to the party for the same reason or for everything. It's just saying, hey, we're going to take care of what you worry about. Justice for all, that kind of thing. So, I like what you guys are doing. The Green Party is capable of breaking the two-party system now. If the resources, if the party was led right by the right person that knows how to set the establishment on fire and knows how to piss some people off, because that's what you got to do.
Yep, you've got to. You've got to get rid of some of these entrenched elites, career politicians inside your party, and then you've got to rat out the Democrats who are doing it on purpose. That's what I can hear. I can hear a lot of stacking from the Democratic Party who cause internal chaos to then feed people up to the Democrats. That's what I can hear. All right, well, Chad, I gotta go. You're a whistleblower.
All right, man. Thank you, sir. ChadWilson.us. you guys can check that out. If you guys want to, donate, you can. ChadWilson.us or at ChadWilson2020. Facebook's going good. We rock and roll and trying to put some pressure on the establishment. If that's what you guys want and want to be involved with, I'm here. And Ben, when you're ready for that second debate, you let me know. We'll get into it.
We'll organise that, absolutely. It'll be great. Transhumanist versus green. That's a very constructive debate right there. Thank you very much, Chad Wilson 2020. Check him out. Debt Nation, putting death out of business.